Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the ESL UK Premiership. My name is Vedius. Join with me is Sona, and we're here to bring you this game 2 of the final game of the group stages for the ESL UK Premiership. We saw a fantastic game 1 coming out from Infused, sitting in a 13-0 record so far throughout the Premiership. The question is right now, can FM be the ones to ruin their perfect score?
Possibly. I mean, 13 is unlucky for some, but thus far, Infused really have not been unlucky at all in their 13 wins. It's just, FM were totally shut out of that game. It was like watching a game where one team wasn't allowed to damage the enemy. It was like just absolutely dominant periods of time from Infused. They played the 2v1 superbly well. They played the rest of the games. Like there's nothing in the entire game where you can say, well, Infused messed that up. There was not a moment in that game where you didn't think Infused were going to win.
That's exactly it. I'd like to say that there was a standout point where the game suddenly swung wide open, and you could argue that that one fight around the middle lane where Charlie Team missed Ziviz missed a big shockwave, whereas Alfari managed to get a huge multi-man onslaught of shadows, gave Infused that slight edge to suddenly gain control over the map. But that was really the only big thing. After that, it was just Infused just constantly controlling, having great vision control, constantly rotating around, taking objectives when they could, and it was just very clean, very smart play coming out from Infused. If they can repeat that performance, I don't know if FM can even touch this powerhouse that is Infused.
FM do have first pick this time, so they've got the option of trying to solidify one of those stronger champions for their first pick. I wouldn't be surprised if we still see the Jax ban, we still see the Soraka bans, still perhaps see Yasuo being taken away in Lulu as well, but then people like Tom Kench come into the mix, perhaps even a Tryndamere if you really want to try and beat your opponents. I mean, Beansu didn't have the best of times versus Alfari in the top lane, and Tryndamere, of course, was hotfixed ever so slightly with that change to Warlord's Bloodlust. But we are into picks and bans, so enough hypothesizing. Let's get down to business.
Alright, so last game we saw coming out from Infuse a Soraka ban, a Lulu ban, and I believe the other one was something. I can't remember
Jax,
what their third ban was. Jax, yes, that's definitely right. Jax was their third ban. And both you and I thought that was a little bit surprising. Banning away that Jax on the blue side suggested that they were kind of going for a very early Tahm Kench pick, and I guess they value that a lot more over something like the Jax.
But Echo has been banned away in respect to Charlie T. Soraka taken out of the fray, and it's a Kassadin ban here as well. So if this trend continues, it's quite worrying for both teams, as many of the stronger champions on the Rift at the moment will still be left open.
They definitely will. I'm surprised Kassadin's going to be taken away from Charlie T. That suggests to me that FM may very well be looking for a very early Lulu pick, something perhaps a LeBlanc could also be on the table. If they want to take Kassadin off the board, that tells me that, okay, we want to pick something, but Kassadin is going to poo all over that. We don't even want to consider playing against the Kassadin, so let's just take it off the map, and let's try and leave as many OPs open as possible so that we get the pick of the litter. The problem for that is they're on blue side versus the red side, which means that if they allow too many OP picks open, they're going to pick one, whereas Infused are going to get two.
It's quite common to see Kassadin picked into Lulu,
yes.
So I was wondering if FM here wanted to try and get that Lulu pick, but that's been banned away by Infused as that last ban, along with the Mundo ban against Maxlaw, so something FM really weren't ready for, and it looks like it's going to be, yes it is, it's the Pirate in the top lane.
We're going to be seeing the Dank Plank here in the UK scene. Beansu's going to be picking that one up. Now, I've been theory crafting quite a lot with the new itemization that we have on patch 5.22. I wouldn't be surprised to see Gangplank actually go for a very early Essence Reaver instead of that Trinity Force. I still think he will potentially go for the Trinity Force, but with all the new crit items that are available in the current patch, I think Gangplank has a lot of potential, and this is the first time that I'm actually getting to see it on the most recent patch.
It's going to be really exciting, actually. I remember him being quite strong before the hotfix to Warlord's Bloodlust, but I'm not sure how strong he will be now, especially playing into Alfari's Fiora. That is a difficult matchup. Alfari known to be a superb swordsmith in the top lane, and Maxlaw picking up the Lee Sin, so he's going to show Dan how the Blind Monk should be played this game.
He certainly is. Maxlaw, very well known for his Lee Sin play. A long time ago, when I used to jungle against Maxlaw, that used to be one of his go-to champions that you would either have to pick away from him or you had to ban. He's got so much experience on this champion, very familiar with it, and it facilitates the very early game playstyle that he's very much accustomed to. As well as that, Alphari, as I've already mentioned, going to be picking up his well-renowned Fiora. This guy is so mechanically skilled that I think it is a massive risk to give him that, and this Gangplank versus Fiora matchup I think is going to be really exciting. I think we're going to get the 1 versus 1 this time and the 2 versus 2 rather than the lane swap. I'm really looking forward because this is what we wanted to see coming into this El Clasico matchup.
Really an interesting pick and ban thus far. Not surprised to see the Janna being locked in here for Tundra, one of his favourite champs. The Elise was banned in the last game, now has been picked up by Dan, so wants to bring that Spider out and show his stuff. What are Charlie T and Pollock going to go for here? Jinx still up, Caitlyn still up, Graves as well, of course he has been hotfixed, still pretty strong as an AD carry. There's so many opportunities for counterplay and counter picking here, and Infused have the next 2 picks.
I do expect them to pick their bottom lane here. We may very well see something like a Thresh come out from Arfan. That could be something that would work quite well into the Janna. They could also choose to play something a little bit more defensively themselves. Ironically enough, I've actually seen a rise in popularity in Sona recently, due to the changes in masteries and due to the itemization. That could be something that they go for.
I am a popular guy, it's true.
I want to pick you as often as possible, you know, it's not that uncommon, so we may very well see that come out. But at the moment, hovering over the brand, and they are going to go for that Jinx once more. It worked out for them very nicely in the last game, and there's no reason to change things up coming into game 2. But this brand pick, the thing about it is a flex pick. Because
yes, it's something you would never have thought of calling a flex pick until recently. Brand support is apparently the way to beat your enemies at the moment. Incredibly strong, has a huge amount of percentage health damage, and works superbly well if you're good at hitting skill shots.
And he's actually very popular in the mid lane too. From what I've been told by a couple of my high elo friends, I know, I do have them, they've actually said that Brand is like really strong in the mid lane. With he's just suddenly risen in popularity, largely due to the mastery changes. And to be honest, I think that's a little bit surprising. But he's also had some very small buffs to his mana, which was initially a very big problem for him. And because of those slight changes, you now don't actually have to get any mana regeneration items. You can just head very quickly down into the utility route. Things like the Liandry's Torment, as well as the Rylai's, make him a force to be reckoned with. So let's keep an eye out where they actually choose to put this Brand, because I think we could very well see a Brand in the mid lane.
Quite possibly. It's going to be Victor picked into it, so Zivit's playing one of his favourite champions, going to try and see what he can do against Charlie T. He was beaten out by Charlie in the last game. Didn't have the most enjoyable of laning phases, and Arfan with the last pick here for Infused. Still a lot of options on the table. Annie, how many flexes do you need, Infused? Just flexing their muscles all over the place, and if they flex as strongly as they did in the last game, FM have a great deal to be worried about.
They definitely do. The thing is, both Brand and Annie would be very good in the bottom lane, but both would be very good in the mid lane as well. They really do have whatever pick they want. But they are hovering over the Malphite. This is a little bit okay, they're going to go for the Nautilus. That is going to be a support Nautilus, which means we're going to be seeing a mid lane Brand Sona. This is going to be the first Brand of the ESL UK Premiership. This is going to be cool stuff. I'm really excited.
Are you sure it's not a mid lane Nautilus?
I'm 95% confident.
Rest in peace, Deathfire Grasp. I know Riot Pulse used to love playing the mid lane, top lane Nautilus with Deathfire Grasp, or even in ARAM's full AP Nautilus just can melt people away, send them to the depths. But it's not going to be the case this time. It's Brand against Victor. Top lane, Gangplank into Fiora. Alphari on that Fiora is a very scary sight indeed. And Maxlaw trying to show Dan what you can do on a Lee Sin jungle. Let's talk a little bit about Team Comp's VDS. Let's start off on the side of FM. It's an interesting comp, very skirmish based.
It definitely is. They've tailored much more towards the early game. They recognized that last game Infused had pretty much control throughout because of the early advantages that they were able to gain. This time, FM have gone, right, now we want to be able to skirmish with you during the early game. Elise, very good at trading with Elise in during the early stages. Same for Victor. Him and Brand both take a little while to scale up, so they're going to be scaling up together. Toaster will naturally have the early advantage on this Lucian, and the Gangplank and Fiora also both take a little while to scale up. So both teams very equal in terms of their skill level during the early game. It's going to be very much a matter of how well they execute these skirmishes and how things pan out in their favor. But I do like that FM have changed their playstyle up and very much are about, okay, this time we want to play a little bit more around the early game. We don't want to give you that early advantage. We want to actually have an impact before the mid stages.
Yeah, most definitely. And Infused just there's a huge amount of damage on Infused. That's all you can really say about them. They've got a bit of a tank line with Arfan and Maxlor. Maxlor prefers building that tanky Lee Sin rather than the aggressive Lee Sin that we see out of some people in solo queue most of the time. But Charlie T, Poik and Alfari have a huge amount of damage, and it's going to be difficult for FM to win this game. If they start going behind, they need to be careful of the Pyroclasms, they need to be careful of the Grand Challenges, of the Super Mega Death Rockets, they need to be careful of the entire Infused roster, because in the last game they weren't careful enough, and now they're down 1-0 in this best of 3.
And what a fantastic game one that was. We praised Infused so much for that very clean, very well executed game. I feel as though coming into game 2, with the compositions that we're seeing, we should see a little bit more of a bloodbath. We should see a little bit more back and forth. And the thing we have to remember is that Binsu and Dan have never played with this lineup before. Obviously, there's quite a lot of synergy between those two players, but because they've joined this FM lineup, they may not be used to the playstyles, they may not be used to the tendencies, or maybe even the shot calling that traditionally comes out from FM. Now that game 1 is out of the way, now that they've had an opportunity to warm up, and now that they're on these more early game focused champions, they may be able to change things up and give Infused a bit more of a run for their money.
Most definitely. We are just about to get onto the rift here. It's Team Infused versus Team FM. Infused undefeated in the ESL UK Premiership this summer season. They've gone 13-0 thus far. Will that be unlucky for them? Or will it be unlucky for FM, who need this win to get back into the series? They need this win to have a chance of taking that #1 spot. At the moment, it really doesn't look like they have that chance. They just didn't play as well as Infused in the first game. They didn't play badly at all. They haven't played badly all season. They just haven't quite matched up to the powerhouse that is Team Infused.
It's just been the story of the Premiership. Infused came in with a very talented lineup and they have performed throughout, not losing a single game to any team so far. We felt as though that FM may be the team to finally break that streak, but from the performance that we saw last game, I'm very much doubtful as to whether or not FM can do it. They do have a lot of talented individuals available to them in their lineup. We're now going to have to see whether or not they can execute it and can finally break that win streak of Infused throughout the Premiership.
Yeah, most definitely. It is important to note that the finals of the ESL UK Premiership will be played in 2 weeks' time in Leicester in the ESL UK studios. It's going to be immense. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be doing some cool stuff with the rest of the gang there. Munch will be there as well, if you know ESL Munch. Great guy. Really nice. And the top 4 teams from the ESL UK Premiership will be there as well. That is FM, Infused, Choke and Exertus. But who they play in the semi-finals is still up for grabs. And we're on to the rift here. It's Team FM versus Team Infused. FM have Binsu in the top lane, Dan in the jungle, Zivis in the mid lane, Toaster 123 as their AD carry, and Tundra as support.
And they're going to be going up against the powerhouse that is Team Infused. Up in the top lane, they're going to have Captain Alfari. Maxlord's going to be in the jungle. Charlie T in the mid lane with Polk and Arfan on AD carry and support.
And we see the teams just lining up along the river. What we see usually at the start of most games these days. Corrupting Potions being picked up by Alfari, so it shows he wants to try and trade in that top lane. Whereas Binsu's gone for the Doran's Blade. Get that little bit of extra health, a little bit of extra damage, but can he do enough damage to face up against the Headmistress Fiora? Well, I'm actually not sure if that's the skin she's using. It's not, it's Project Fiora. The Project Fiora in the top lane.
Wow, I cannot believe you got that incorrect and you call yourself a play-by-play. Yeah. But Obviously, I am only kidding. It is wonderful to have Sona here casting these final games of the group stages. And what a group stages it has been. We had some fantastic games yesterday that went all the way to 3 games. Very close between both Choke and Exertus. And now here we are. El Clasico once again. Team Infused versus FM Esports. An exciting game to watch. This is FM's last opportunity to turn this series around. If you have only just joined us at the moment, Team Infused are 1-0 up in this best of 3 series. They're looking to claim that first seed coming into the playoffs, and this will actually mean that FM have the 3rd seed because of a number of reasons in resulting due to the scores, which you can check out over on the ESL UK Premiership website.
Yeah, they'll be 3rd seed because they lost out to Choke in their 1v1 matchup. They'll be equal on points, and if that eventuality does happen, they'll still face up against Choke, but I believe Choke will get the choice of size. If Infused win this game, they'll face up against Exertus in the finals. In the semi-finals, sorry, and that'll be an exciting match in a couple of weeks' time. We know what lane swaps of this game, Beansu and Alfari just trading in the top lane. What we expected to see, really. We haven't got the obvious losing lanes that there were in the last game in this one, and both teams just happy enough to try and win out these straight-on matchups themselves.
I like this back and forth coming in from both teams. Alfari really displaying his dominance up in the top lane. I talked about how he is a monster at this Fiora, and you can already see it during this very early stage of the game. Really having full control, constantly putting the poke down, and slowly starting to build up a CS advantage. This is the Alfari that I'm used to seeing. Big fan of his playstyle, but he is also Welsh, so not only do we have talented players come out of Wales, we also have talented casters, so great country. I would recommend that you check it out.
Stress, aren't you? Anyway, back into the game. Ziv is trying to put some pressure down onto Charlie T on that brand. Obviously, you can burn T, but it's a difficult thing to do. Lee Sin, Maxlaw trying to get into a gank here onto Beansu, who's placed that powder keg under his tower to keep himself safe for now. Alfari, as you said, putting a lot of pressure down. Both pots being burnt by Beansu already. But he won't struggle too much. He's going to back away. Maxwell tries to get onto him, but Beansu will just eat oranges and it'll be K for now. He'll back away, lose some experience to that tower as Alfari pushes up past it to block out that minion wave.
And this is very much what Maxwell likes to do. He's all about these early aggressive plays, all about trying to get his laners ahead, in particular getting Alfari ahead, because we know how talented Alfari is. We've been talking about it over and over and over again, and it's just what Maxwell likes to do. He's all about, okay, I'm going to get you 1 kill, and then I'm going to leave you to it. And right there, that's exactly what he's trying to do. Big CS advantage gained for Alfari, thanks to the small amount of pressure that Maxwell was able to apply.
That's definitely. Alfari's going to get spotted out by this ward, and his back will be just delayed a little bit there by Beansu. Does already have the 10 CS advantage, so he won't mind. He can TP back into that lane when he wants. We did see Dan going for a little bit of an invade because he knew Maxlaw wasn't there. He stole away that blue buff, so Dan has had a 3 buff start here, which will give him a little bit of an experience advantage, but with the way that jungle camps give experience at the moment, it's not going to be too much for him.
I don't think Maxwell's going to be too upset about losing his blue buff. He is playing Lee Sin, not that reliant on the buff. As we do see Beansu getting chunked out by Alfari. Damn, that is a lot of damage to come out. I'm really feeling bad for Beansu. He didn't have a great game 1, largely due to the fact that the lane swap really hurt the early dominance that he had on that Renekton. Now, coming into the 1v1 himself, he just isn't having the start that he needs. The pressure coming out from Maxlaw and the constant poke coming out from Alfari is really making this early game difficult for him.
It definitely is, and yes, Gangplank scales relatively well, but a lot of his skill is in these trades, in these top lane battles, and Alfari just showing his superior mechanics on this Fiora, really putting the hurt down onto Beansu, who, as you said, definitely struggling in that lane. Perhaps we'll see Dan trying to put some counter pressure down, trying to get the ganks off. He's near mid lane at the moment. Maxlaw set himself up for a tower dive on Beansu, who does have oranges, so can make it K. He'll flash away straight away. Maxlaw runs into the minion wave there, and Beansu will just escape for now, but can they turn this one round? Elise is around the corner, Dan on his way, but not going to be able to do much as Beansu just comes back to the tower and farms it up with his flash blown now.
The thing is, considering that Binsu and Dan are so used to playing together, you'd expect Dan to provide some kind of support, but he just never seems to be around the top half of the map. He never really seems to be helping his top laner out by even providing him with some basic vision to spot out Maxwell. And as I say that he has now just dropped a ward, but unfortunately I think it's a little bit too late. The flash is now unavailable for Binsu. We do see Toaster going in for a bit of an aggressive play in the bottom.
Yeah, he's going to put a little bit of aggression down here. Arfen takes some damage, but this is the problem with Lucian Janna. It's not the most conducive lane to effective long-term trades. You can get short-term trades because Lucian jumps in, you have the Eye of the Storm, you have shield for a little bit, but into a Nautilus you're just going to get stunned up, and then the Eye of the Storm expires, and there's not really a huge amount you can do. Binsu runs away once more. It's a time-honored tradition. Binsu running away from Alphari and Maxlor in the top lane.
I think we should both agree that Maxlor is not a jungler this game, he's another top laner.
Yeah, top lane tank. Pyroclasm comes out onto Zivix and he'll take a lot of damage from the bounces there. He did pop the Chaos Storm onto Charlie T, but both of them going to be able to retreat. Maxlor is just like, guys, I didn't want jungle, I wanted top lane. Report Alphari, please. I just wanted top lane. Only took smite so I could take away the siege minions.
Yeah.
Oh, but Dan's here and they're going to be under the tower. Oh, it doesn't quite land the cocoon onto Alphari. He did just lunge away. And actually we see Tundra being pushed up into the top lane as well, but there's a gorgeous ward placed by Infused that spots Tundra as he comes in. The ward just about halfway down the lane. And it means that Alphari will know that he can back away. Maxlor can back away as well. And now Arfen and Pollock can decide if they want to dive Toaster under this tower. It looks like that's what they're going to do. Arfen's there. Ooh, Toaster dodges away at the start, but here come the Flame Chomps. Is going to catch him up. Pollock tanking the tower. Not quite what you want to do on that Jinx. And Toaster will be safe for now as Tundra comes back down towards the lane.
The great thing for Infused right now is that because of the pressure that Maxwell's applying to the house.
Oh, here comes the ultimate from Gangplank, and Toaster flashes in with a culling. But gets hooked. Oh, there's so much damage from Tundra. Flashes in front of the Super Mega Death Rocket, and Toaster's chasing off Arfen. Tundra's going to keep trying to chase onto Pollock. I'm not sure he'll get the kill as he will run away. The Jinx escapes. Meanwhile, there's a brand coming down, and Toaster will have to back away. It looked for a second like the Cannon Barrage had secured them a couple of kills, but great play by Infused to get out of that one.
So many great plays from both supports and that very quick exchange that happened in the bottom lane. Not only did Tundra flash in front of Polk just as the Super Mega Death Rocket was coming out, but he dropped the exhaust to almost pick up a kill onto Polk, but because of the heal it wasn't quite able to land. Maxwell though looking for another gank up in the top lane.
What a surprise, talking of picking up a kill. Maxwell, the one who's going to jump onto Binsu. And Binsu goes down. Maxlor has not left that top lane for a second. He needs an item called Buy a Tent, because he's camping Alphari as much as he can.
Oh man, there must be some kind of tent cell going up in the top lane because Maxlor has not left it. That is, the amount of pressure that he's been putting down is truly unbelievable. I talked about how all he wants to do is get Alphari a single kill and then leave him to it. Now that he's done that, maybe we'll see Maxlor finally find his true calling as a jungler and move away from the top lane role.
Now, just take away one enemy camp and then run away. Here comes the Chaos Storm, but the teleport's going to come on, and Dan needs to be careful because he's right under this tower. Gravity Well comes out to try and stun Alphari up, but Arfan's here as well, and Maxlor joins the fray. Dan looks like he's going to go down here. Can he scuttle his way away? There is a Pollock coming up as well, though. The Jinx there, and it actually looks like Zivix might escape. Super Mega Death Rocket is going to pick up the kill, and the resets come down. Maxlor getting chased out here as Tundra tries to get away as well. Pollock's going to get the red buff slow onto Tundra, and there is no Eye of the Storm to get him away to safety, but there is a Zivix around the corner, and he will keep him alive for now. But Infused pick up 2 kills thus far this game and are playing very, very well.
That right there was a beautiful escape coming out from Charlie T and a nice response coming out from Alphari. You have to give mad credit to him because of how the gravity field works. It's a 1.5 second slow followed by a 1.5 second stun. Alphari timed his riposte at just the right time to actually deny the stun and get that stun back onto Dan, which enabled them to pick up the kill. Polk gets the reset and he's able to get a bit of damage down onto the backline of FM. They pick themselves up another kill, and they may lose a tower in the mid lane. No, they're actually going to keep that one alive, but great advantages gained for Infused. Right now, once again, they've gotten this early game advantage. It's going to be about how well they can use it from this point forward.
Yeah, that was superb play by Alphari to riposte the gravity field. That's Absolutely amazing that he was able to do that. We see a little bit of trading going down in the bottom lane, but not too much doing all around at the moment. And Vedius, how do you see this game going from here?
It's kind of rough for FM because now, we talked about very early on that they have much more of a skirmish orientated composition. They have much more of an early game presence that they had in the past, but the early game has once again gone in favor of Infused, simply because Infused were the team that were constantly making these plays, constantly looking for the pressure, especially up in the top lane, and FM just weren't able to respond. Constantly Dan was being dragged up to the top lane and not getting anything off the back of it. He wasn't even able to stop Maxlaw and his unrelenting pressure. Maybe he should have gone to try and make some plays in the bottom, maybe look to try and make some plays in the mid. And when he does finally try to make some plays in the mid lane, it completely backfires. It's just been a rough early game for FM, and while I like the fact that they tried to change up their playstyle, it just has not worked out for them. Really phenomenal play coming out from Infused though. This is a very clean game once again coming out from them, and you can really see the synergy developing between Maxlaw and Alfari. This pair is so dominant.
It's been incredible. Like, Maxlaw gave up a huge amount of his jungle just to camp out Alfari, and it's pushed him so far ahead. He's 30 CS up, he's got that extra kill, and he's even gone cooldown boots with home guards just so he can put even more pressure on that top lane. Doing a superb job, and it's just clean. That's what it is. It's methodical. It's not always showy. It's not always exciting League of Legends to watch from a passive point of view. But if you are a fan of Infused, this is exactly what you want them to do. As Arfan gets onto Toaster, a good monsoon will knock him back. Here comes the ultimate, but Maxwell's going to chase Toaster down. The Eye of the Storm comes out. Can Toaster pick up a kill? No, he can't. Here comes Dan. He's going to try and get onto Pollock and Maxwell because they're both very, very low. The tornado comes out. Here comes the counter heal, and Arfan's going to go in there and then manage just to escape. Dan running his way away up towards the top side. Charlie T off towards the side, but Alfari's going to jump in. Ziv is around the corner, and Dan will just about escape. The Pyroclasm loses vision and doesn't cast. And with the gravity field coming out, it looks like FM might be able to escape. Here comes Alfari. The death rate's quite large, and there's the Chaos Storm as well. He might get him down. No, Alfari will lunge away. And now Zivis is in an awful position as he gets stunned up. Charlie T picks up the kill, and once again, Infused come out of a scrap with 2 kills and no deaths to their name.
Infused are just executing these fights so perfectly, constantly in the right place at the right time. Notice Beans, who didn't even use his teleport. He didn't even try to get involved in that fight. And if he had, they may have been able to turn things around, but Infused just having full control of this early game. It's pretty much the story for Infused as a team. They're all about this early game, and I'm yet to see a team that's actually been able to prevent them from building up a lead. Alfari going for another fight.
Yeah, he's going to absolutely decimate Beansu here. There's hardly anything he can do about it. Grand challenge is down. Alfari just gets the auto attacks off, picks up his second kill of the game. He's got the Tiamat and the Phage now. They get their Dragon. They've got 2 towers up. They're 5 kills to naught, and it would not surprise me if they didn't lose a kill this entire game.
They're going for the perfect game this time round. Last game they finished 12-1 and lost 2 towers. This game they're going to try and lose 0, and they're not going to give any deaths away. Infused are just in a league of their own. It's unbelievable, to be totally honest with you. I wasn't expecting this coming out from Infused. I knew they had a talented lineup, but to go 13-0, maybe even make it a perfect season and go 14-0 is not what I was expecting from this lineup.
I think it's important to note as well, it's not like this is a game versus a low-level ESL UK Premiership team. This is the second place team they're facing up against here. This is their main rival, their main challenger. This is El Clasico. And they are just destroying them. They're doing exactly what Barcelona did to Real Madrid yesterday. They're outplaying them across the map. There's not a single position where it doesn't look like Infused is going to be able to take the fight, take the win, take whatever battle they want. And they've played it strategically and mechanically superbly for this entire series.
I certainly have. I'm really impressed with how far they've come as a team, and I look forward to seeing them play in the playoffs, because teams are going to have to come up with a unique strategy to be able to deal with them, because right now they just feel unstoppable. Very talented lineup, and we're only at the 15-minute mark. There is still only a 2,000 goal difference between the two teams. FM are not completely out of it yet. If they can get a single team fight that can just give them a small gold swing, then there may be an opportunity for them. Notice how Toaster has completed that Essence Reaver. Binsu working towards that Trinity Force. Once he gets that, he will have a bit of an item spike. Looking at Ziviz, he just needs a couple more items to really start dealing damage. There are still plenty of opportunities available. FM just need to get those major items and get the right fights off. If they can potentially shut down Charlie T very early on, if they maybe decide to focus Alfari very early on, maybe they could swing the fight in their favor. But for Infused, there are just so many threats. Looking at it, who do you focus in this lineup?
Yeah, there's too many members of the enemy team that they have to be worried about. But as you said, it's only 2,000 gold. FM, this game is still on a knife edge. If they can turn a fight, if they can just pick up a couple of kills. Oh, Tundra's going to go down here. Pyroclasm, bounce, Doom. Super Mega Death Rocket goes between the goalposts. It wasn't even needed as Tundra gets caught out trying to clear a ward. He cleared 2 previously, but wasn't able to get the 3rd as it was 3rd time unlucky for him.
Certainly was. That's going to be another kill going over to Infused. And now that they have the numbers advantage, as well as forcing Ziviz back, they're going to look to take a couple more towers.
Yeah, they are. They're going to get top lane tower. They forced Binsu away from that one. Actually, with the cannon barrage, he's going to get Maxwell quite low. Maxwell stays in, and one more tower shot will be enough. Binsu picks up the kill, but the grand challenge goes down, and Binsu will get taken out. Arfan off towards the side, does get cocooned, and the Chaos Storm comes in as well. Arfan very low, but here comes Pollock, and Toaster's going to get taken out. He'll get the resets. He's going to chase onto Dan as well. Charlie T doing what he can with very little mana. They will just back away. Infused pick up the tower in the bot lane. They get mid lane tower as well. Yes, they lose a couple of kills, but they get a couple for themselves. And Infused picking up global gold all across the map.
Well, unfortunately for Infused, their perfect game now has been ruined. They've lost 2 towers, they've lost 2 kills, and I still don't think that Infused are going to be too upset about it, though. As you said, they were able to pick up some nice kills in the mid and top lane, as well as 2 towers across the map. So their overall map pressure is now going to be significantly greater. We saw a lot of summoner spells burned, in particular Polk using those summoner spells very aggressively to try and get some kills onto the backline of FM. And while things were looking decent for FM in that engage, especially Binsu being able to force both Maxwell and Alfari away from the tower, showed signs of encouragement for FM, but then all of a sudden Infused flicked the switch, they turned on man mode aggression, and they were able to pick themselves up some very nice objectives, still in full control of this game.
That they are. They're doing a superb job of just picking up kills here, there, and everywhere. And at the moment, the next objectives are lining themselves up. They've got the Baron, they've got the Dragon if they want it. And as we come further into this game, it looks harder and harder for FM to get back into it.
Certainly does. Right now we can see Infused looking to set up a bit of deep vision into the half of FM's jungle. Being able to get this means that they can look for the fights that can really swing the game even further in their favor and potentially crack the base of FM, because once it is open, they become an unstoppable force. Polk, though.
Yeah, Polk's going to take a lot of pressure here, and wow, that damage coming out is absolutely superb. And actually, I'm afraid my screen's just crashed, buddy.
It does look like, though, that Dan is going to go down off the back of that. Binsu now is the one on the run. He's going to lose his life. Ziviz is going to get kicked out of the gravity field, but it's going to be enough to lock up Maxlore. He's going to use his flash to get out of that tricky situation, and that is going to be a 2-for-1 going over in favor of Infused. They did capitalize on the fact that Polk was completely out of position, completely alone up into the top lane, but a very nice teleport coming out from Alfari to back his teammate up resulted in them being able to pick up 2 easy kills.
Yeah, 2 easy kills again for Infused. Helps them out once more. They just so good at turning what looks to be a losing position into a winning one, and now 10 kills to 3 up. Just gonna back away, Dragon in 18 seconds, that Baron up soon as well. Once again, going for the double sightstone, going for that vision control across the map. They're doing a superb job of just choking the life out of this FM lineup. FM once more on the back foot, but they do have the opportunities begging as Dragon spawns and Infused starts it straight away.
And looking at this, it's surprising how little Infused have actually played around the Dragon. But I mean, if we really think about it, Maxwell's actually invested all of his time up in the top lane. Mao's Dan could have looked to try and take those objectives down in the bottom half of the map. There would have been little to no contention, considering Maxwell was always in the top half. But I feel as though Dan just didn't know how to deal with this relentless pressure coming out from Maxwell during the early game. And off the back of that, because of the lead that Maxwell was able to build for Alfari, he's now sitting at 4-0-2. He's about to complete his Black Cleaver, and with the Hydra and Cleaver completed, Alfari is going to be pretty much unstoppable.
that he is. Beansu just needs to stand back a long range, try and get those barrels, clearing out as much as he can. There's some good anti-siege here on the side of FM. They've got the Death Ray, they've got Toaster there who clears waves pretty effectively once he gets that static shiv. They've got Beansu as well, so if they can not get caught out and just slowly push back against this Infused lineup, they have a little bit of a chance, but it's so difficult when Alfari is as big as he is, when Charlie T has the damage he does. Brand has superb range for the amount of damage he has as a mid laner. If you can get those W's down, just put a lot of pressure out the Pillar of Flame, does a huge amount of damage, and it's just something you can do with an AoE while you're sieging under a tower that makes it very difficult for the enemy team to defend.
It certainly does. And look at this as well. Alfari sitting down into the bottom lane, applying the pressure that he is just so renowned for. Last game we saw him doing so much work in the split push role. This game,
Alpha's going to jump onto Dan, and here comes the damage from the side. The cannon barrage has been popped, and the entire Infused lineup is split. Zivit stuns up Maxwell, the exhaust goes down. Alfari's picked up Beansu down to the bot side. A super mega death rocket from nowhere picks up the kill onto Zivis, and it's 2-0 in favor of Infused. Even after we see FM starting the fight, Alfari's still split pushing, still getting those towers in the bottom lane as well. He's gonna take the inhibitor tower, and it's only Dan and Tundra here to defend. Pretty sure Alfari can take that fight if he wants, but he's gonna back away. The rest of Infused push for the mid lane tower. Alfari's gonna jump onto Dan. Here comes the counter pressure. He almost riposts the cocoon, but Dan has to back away straight away. Alfari can stay near the base. Pollock's gonna try and push for this inhibitor in the mid lane, but there's a good culling from Toaster. He's gonna jump into Pollock. Not quite enough damage to take him out. And Infused will just back away, pick up an inhibitor tower and that mid lane tower and a couple of kills. 12 kills to 4 up now. Infused look unstoppable.
They certainly do. You saw right there that FM were the ones to go for the fight, but because they put so much attention onto Arfan, the backline of Infused were perfectly safe. That meant that they were very easily able to get the damage down onto Ziviz, off the back of Maxwell's surprisingly large amount of damage as well, and then Polk was able to clean that up with the super mega death rock. And while all that was going on, Alfari was doing his split push thing down in the bottom lane. He's able to get a solo kill onto Beansu, as well as finally crack the base of FM. This is the Infused that we're used to seeing, constantly going for these fights, constantly going for these aggressive plays, and it is that aggression that has propelled them into the position that they're in right now.
Arfan gonna run around this corner, spot out Dan. He gets the cocoon down, but with Maxlaw there, you really don't want to engage. Meanwhile, I've said it a few times this game, Alfari is still split pushing. Beansu does have TP, but we've seen time and time again, Death Dance and Ravenous Hydra picked up here, along with a Phage on Alfari. There's nothing that Beansu can do to fight up against that Fiora. She's actually just placing a ward so she can spot out any rotations coming out here from FM. But even if they send a couple of members to try and beat out Alfari, I really think they're going to struggle.
I completely agree, and I actually think this is a great item, especially into Gangplank, because if Gangplank suddenly gets a massive crit onto Alfari, he's not going to take the sudden burst damage, it's going to be bled over a short period of time, which means that Alfari has plenty of time to respond. That sudden burst that we're so used to seeing from Gangplank is going to be heavily mitigated by that pickup from Alfari. I really do like this Death Dance item, and I like its interaction, especially against the Gangplank. It does look like the Alfari is not done yet in the bottom lane.
So much damage on Beansu already. Tundra's here. He pops the monster to try and heal up. The grand challenge on Beansu. Beansu has to flash away, but Tundra, what is that damage? Tundra gets blown away, gets blown to smithereens by Project Alfari, and he is truly the captain of his team as he picks up that first kill. Meanwhile, the rest of Infused going for the Baron. Dan trying to get in where he can. Pollock's going to take some damage. He takes the Pollock to the face as well, and Pollock's actually going to go down. Toaster in the middle of it more. They pick up 2. Arfan's there as well, but they picked up 3 kills. And Alfari's now TP'd into this one. What can Arfan and Alfari do? They can do a lot, but it's only Arfan left. It's only Alfari left. My mistake, and Alfari is massive. The triple kill for Zivis is huge, but Dan gets taken out. It's an unofficial quadra for Alfari. Absolutely melts away at the entire FM lineup. He can 1v5, he can 1v9 if he needs to. And Alfari carrying Infused through this game with a superb split push and a superb Fiora.
We talked about how if you give Alfari a slight lead, he will run away with it, and you can see that he has done that throughout this game. Not only is he able to win a 2 versus 1 in the bottom lane and pick up an inhibitor, a poor Baron call coming out from the rest of Infused is very easily cleaned up off the back of Alfari. He really is the captain of this ship and steering the course for Infused to take a 2-0 victory.
He is Infused dominant thus far in the game. Perhaps that was the first real strategical misplay we've seen from them. Going for that Baron, yes, Alfari was able to come in and clean up, but you don't want to be giving kills away to the enemy team, no matter what you get off the back of it. In that sort of case where you're giving up 4 kills, really perhaps wasn't worth it for them at that time. Yes, Alfari is huge, but if, and it's a big if, FM can catch him out or take him down or work out a way to play around him, the rest of Infused now not as big as they'd like to be. Tundra's going to get caught out though, and here's Arfan, and there's Alfari. Alfari's going to try and get onto Zibis. The TP's coming in on the back line, but the Grand Challenge is down and Zibis goes down. Maxwell picked up, Beans is going to go very, very low. Pollock pounding away. Dan and Alfari absolutely melted away, and Dan now the last man standing for FM. The Super Mega Death Rocket does not connect, but already FM are saying GG in chat. They know this game is done. Dan gets taken down. It's an 8. It's 4 kills for Alfari once more as he projects the win here for Infused. A dominant performance by him. Superb play by Maxlaw early on to help them pick up the kills. They're going to try and crack the base in 2 more places. It's cracked like an egg already in the bot lane. They're going to get top lane inhibitor tower down. Pollock's going to push down the mid lane inhibitor. And this is a huge win for Infused.
Infused looking for that perfect record in the second season of the ESL UK Premiership. With this win, they're going to be taking a 14-0 record, but it isn't quite over yet. All 3 inhibitors are down for the side of FM, and it's going to be so difficult for them to even slightly find a way back into this game. Alfari has been a true monster. You saw him in that fight getting an unofficial quadra once again, pretty much solo winning the fight, but you have to give credit to Maxwell. He got a beautiful kick onto Dan to really set that fight up. Polk constantly throwing out damage on the backline. Charlie T able to get a very clean Pyroclasm onto multiple members, but it really has been the Alfari show. This guy is an absolute machine. If you give him an arm, he's not only going to take the leg, he's going to take absolutely everything from you, and Infused are looking to take this game off of FM.
That they are. They take the game, they'll take the series. They've broken 3 inhibitors down, and the win rate for a team with 3 inhibitors down is about 0.6%, so FM really need to defy the odds to win this one against Alfari, the Alfurious, the wonderful Fiora player that he is. Dragon is up, but Infused don't even care. They're just going to let Polk pick that one up himself. Alfari can split push, and the rest of the team can push down that mid lane to try and put the pressure down onto FM.
Infused have just been playing so cleanly. Yes, this game they've just been a little bit more aggressive than from what we saw in the last game, but their constant positioning during teamfights, the use of Alfari across the map has resulted in them making very strategically advanced plays. It has been very nice to watch this team throughout this series. Their only big misplay was that Baron, but even Alfari was able to clean that up, as it does look like the final teamfight is kicking off.
Yeah, and they're gonna go in. The Nexus Tower is the only structures left standing for FM, and they're getting pounded away here. Charlie T does take some aggro, and Alfari down to half HP, but they've already picked up one, and Maxwell's in the back line as well. Pollock doing all the damage. Tundra jumps in and tries to knock Arfan back into the fountain, but Arfan can survive for days. It's a fountain of youth for him, and Infused are undefeated in the ESL UK Premiership. They win this one 2-0.
Congratulations to Team Infused. They are going to be taking the first seed after the group stages are finally completed. They're going to be sitting at top of the ESL UK Premiership. Choke is going to be sitting in second place. FM are going to be taking that third seed with Exertus in fourth. Those will be the top 4 teams moving on into the playoffs that we will be seeing in a few weeks' time. Fantastic performance from Team Infused. Special mention to Alfari for going 13-0-3. I thoroughly enjoyed this final game. It was worth the watch, and Infused once again showing how strong they've come as a team.
What a performance. Each game from Infused, we saw a different strategy. First game, they just suffocated FM. They shut down any opportunity for FM to do anything. Alfari didn't get massively ahead like he did in the second, but he was absolutely superb in that second game. Maxlaw gave up a lot of his early jungle pressure just to stand in that top lane and wait time and time again for Beansu to come back into lane. They forced him out. They denied him CS. Beansu did less than half the damage that Alfari did in that game to Champions because of how much Maxlaw camped out that top lane. It was superb play by Infused. Commiserations to FM, who will go through in third place in the ESL UK Premiership. It's Infused taking first. Choke takes second place. They're tied on points with FM, but they beat FM in the 1v1 matchup. FM take third, and fourth place will be Exertus. They'll be there for the ESL UK Premiership finals in a couple of weeks' time in the Leicester ESL UK studios. It's going to be immense. Vedius, what a series from Infused. They look unstoppable. We have only had 2 weeks on these 5.22 patches. Is there a way, is there a kink in the armor of Infused that you can see?
Well, we will be moving on to patch 5.23 by the time we actually get to playoffs, so I think that it's going to be very much about how well all of these teams can adapt to the new patch, because I believe there are some fairly significant changes coming up, and the ability to a team to react and figure out the strongest compositions is going to be integral to their performance coming into the playoffs. But these guys, the thing is, we've hyped up Alfari a lot, but you have to give credit to the rest of his team for getting him into that position. Maxlaw, you've already mentioned, was so unrelenting with his pressure up in the top lane. He is a large reason as to why Alfari even got as far ahead as he did. And you have to give credit to the rest of the laners as well. Polk and Arfan, even though there were a bit of shaky 2 versus 2s in the bottom lane, they never gave away any major objectives. They held their own. They did a fantastic job in the bottom lane, and they were very integral coming into these mid and late game team fights. And Charlie T, with those pyroclasms, always on point. An overall dominant performance from Infused. I'm really looking forward to see them play in the ESL playoffs, and that is going to be the question of the tournament. Who can come up with the strategy to topple the kings of the UK?
But we saw it with Fnatic as well. They hadn't lost till they got to Worlds, and then they proceeded to lose pretty darn hard at Worlds. So you never know. Infused might be just a team that don't show up on the big stage. It might happen, but we'll find out in 2 weeks, guys. ESL UK Premierships gonna happen in 2 weeks, first weekend of December. It's gonna be immense. Make sure you tune in. But for now, I've been Sona, my co-caster's been Vidius, and we have just watched Infused be the undefeated champions of the summer season ESL UK Premiership group stages.